All right, let's talk. High school can be a lot, right? I mean, it's a total pressure cooker. You've got classes, you've got tests, you're trying to figure out your whole life. It can get really overwhelming. But what if I told you there's this one single belief, like a tiny shift in how you think, that can totally change the game for you? Like change how you deal with every single challenge you come up against. It's a huge idea, and it all starts with a question I bet you've asked yourself before.
Yeah, this one. You ever feel like this? You just smack into a wall with something. Maybe it's a class, maybe it's a sport, and you start telling yourself that story, well, I'm just not a math person, or I'm not an artist. We've all done it. That little voice in your head goes, see, told you, you're just stuck. But here's the thing. What if that whole feeling, that entire idea of being stuck is just wrong? What if it's based on a total misunderstanding of how our brains and our skills actually work?
You guessed it. It all comes down to your mindset. Seriously, this isn't just some feel-good idea. It's based on decades of research from a Stanford psychologist named Carol Dweck. And what she found is that the biggest factor in whether we succeed or fail, it's not raw talent. It's not about how smart you are. It's about this one core belief you have about your own intelligence. She calls it your mindset. You can think of it like the operating system running in the background of your brain, telling you how to react to everything.
And it basically boils down to two types. On one side, you've got what's called the fixed mindset. This is the belief that your intelligence is just static. It's set in stone. You've got what you've got, and that's it. But on the other side, there's the growth mindset. And this is the idea that your intelligence can be developed, that you can actually grow it. This single difference between these two ways of thinking, it is everything. It's the key that unlocks the whole thing.
So let's dig into that fixed mindset for a second. What does it actually feel like to live in that headspace? Well, if you think your intelligence is fixed, then every single thing you do, every test, every project, it becomes this high-stakes exam of, am I smart or am I dumb, right? And because of that, you start to avoid challenges. Why? Because if you fail, it doesn't just feel like you failed a test, it feels like you are a failure. It's this constant, exhausting pressure to prove you've got it.
Okay, but the growth mindset, it's a completely different world. If you've got a growth mindset, you see your brain as just the starting point. You totally get that you become good at stuff through dedication and hard work. It's about using smart strategies, learning from people who know more than you. That's how you get better. So when a challenge pops up, you don't run from it. No way. You actually get kind of excited by it because you see it for what it is, a chance to grow.
All right, theory's cool, but let's make this super real. Let's talk about a scenario that, well, it's pretty much every student's nightmare. You get a big test back. You thought you did okay, and you failed. Ugh, that sinking feeling in your stomach, right? That moment right there, how you react in that exact moment tells you everything you need to know about your mindset.
So if you're in that fixed mindset, that F on the paper isn't just a grade. It feels like a permanent label stamped on your forehead. It's the proof you were afraid of, the proof that you just don't have what it takes. And your brain jumps right to, I'm a failure. I'm just not smart. It feels final. And what happens next? You feel totally helpless. You want to give up. I mean, why would you even bother trying again if you think you're just doomed to fail?
But now, let's rewind. Same situation, same failing grade, but this time, let's look at it through a growth mindset. Look, it still stings, right? Getting an F is never fun. But it's not a label. It's just information. It's feedback. So the reaction completely flips. It's not, I'm a failure. It's, okay, that approach clearly did not work. And your brain immediately goes to problem-solving mode. So, what can I learn from this? How can I do this differently next time? It's not a dead end. It's a fork in the road.
This right here, this is maybe the biggest difference of all. It's how each mindset sees the idea of effort. In a fixed mindset world, having to try hard is almost shameful. It's like proof that you're not a natural genius. If you were really smart, it would just come easy, right? But in the growth mindset, oh man, effort is the hero. Effort is the engine. It's the thing that actually makes you smarter. It's not a sign you're weak. It's the very process that makes you strong.
And listen, this idea is so much bigger than just school and grades. This is about everything. Let's step outside the classroom for a minute and look at the world of sports. Because when you look at the real champions, the legends, you're not just looking at someone who was born with it. What you're really seeing is a growth mindset in its purest form.
I mean, think about Michael Jordan, probably the greatest basketball player ever, right? He famously got cut from his high school varsity team. Can you imagine? A fixed mindset would have just quit. Game over. But what did he do?
He used that failure as fuel. He became legendary not because he was a natural, but because his work ethic was absolutely relentless. That's what champions do. They don't just put up with failure, they use it. They actively love a good challenge. And you'll never hear them making excuses or blaming somebody else. Okay, so we've got these two different paths, right? One that kind of keeps you stuck, and another that sets you free to grow. But now we get to the single most important part of this whole conversation. I mean it. This is the most powerful, most hopeful piece of the entire puzzle, and it's the part that can change things for you like today. And here it is. Your mindset is not permanent. Read that again. It's just a belief, and beliefs can be changed. You are not stuck with a fixed mindset for the rest of your life. It's not who you are, it's just a way of thinking you might have picked up along the way. And that means you have the power to change it. You are absolutely in the driver's seat of your own mind. So you're probably asking, okay, great, but how? Well, it's actually pretty straightforward to start. Just 3 steps. First, just start noticing. That's it. Listen for that little voice in your head, that fixed mindset voice, that says stuff like, you can't do this, or, see, you're just not smart enough. Step 2, the moment you hear it, just recognize it for what it is. Say to yourself, oh, okay, that's just my fixed mindset talking. You don't have to believe it. You have a choice. And then, step 3 is the fun part. You answer back. You consciously talk back to that voice with a growth mindset voice. So when it says, I'm a failure, you say, nope, I'm learning from this. So from now on, whenever you hit something hard, whether it's a brutal homework assignment, a tough practice, whatever it is, I want you to remember this. That moment is not a test of who you are. It's an opportunity. It's a chance for you to decide who you're going to become. So the question isn't, are you smart enough or are you good enough? The real question is the one right here. What challenge are you going to choose to grow from today?
So you're a new manager. First off, congratulations. You're probably thinking about processes and software and all the new tasks on your plate. But what if I told you the most important tool you have is actually your own mindset? The whole success of your leadership journey really starts with this one fundamental choice, a choice about how you see the world and your team's place in it. And let's be clear, this isn't some abstract philosophical question. Oh no, the answer you come up with is going to shape every single thing you do. How you react when a project misses a deadline, how you give feedback in a one-on-one, and, ultimately, the kind of team you build around you. This is the bedrock. This is your leadership identity. So what are these 2 paths you can take? Well, research shows there are really 2 core mindsets that kind of act like different operating systems for a leader. And trust me, they lead to drastically different places. Let's dive in and take a look. What's so wild here is how this one single belief creates this huge domino effect. The fixed mindset leader, they think you either have it or you don't. So their entire focus is on looking smart and avoiding failure at all costs. I mean, why wouldn't it be? Failure threatens their entire identity. But the growth mindset leader, they believe talent is something you build. So when a team member struggles, they see a chance to coach, not a sign of weakness. It's such a subtle shift, but with absolutely massive consequences. So what's it actually like working for a fixed mindset leader? Honestly, it's a culture of fear and ego. This manager is threatened by real talent, so they tend to hire people who won't outshine them. When a project goes well, they are first in line to take all the credit. But when something goes wrong, the blame game begins. Just think of any micromanager you've ever had who is way more focused on looking good than actually helping the team win. Yeah, that's a fixed mindset in action. Okay, now let's completely flip the script. The growth mindset leaders team, it feels more like a learning lab. They see potential in everybody and are constantly looking for ways to develop their people. They're not afraid of tough feedback. In fact, they crave it. And when the team gets a win, the credit is shared all around. Think of a leader like Jack Welch at GE, who is famous for his focus on developing talent from within, creating a culture where people felt they could really grow. And that really is the bottom line, isn't it? It's not about having one superstar genius leader. It's about building an entire culture that values getting better together. Which brings up a pretty important question. Where do these powerful mindsets even come from in the first place? So where do these mindsets come from? Well, as a manager, it's so important to remember that your team members don't just show up with these beliefs out of nowhere. They're carrying a whole lifetime of experiences with them. And if you can understand those roots, that's the key to helping them grow. Our beliefs about what we're capable of are formed really, really early on. I mean, think back to your own childhood for a second. When you got a good grade, were you praised for being so smart? Or were you praised for the effort you put in? That little difference in feedback has a huge impact.
Same thing goes for teachers who might label kids as good or bad at a subject, or coaches who are only focused on that final score. All these experiences shape that little voice in our head that we bring to work every day. And here's the crucial point. You are now that influential figure. You're the new coach. You're the new teacher. The way you give feedback, the way you frame a challenge, how you react to a failure, all of it is either going to reinforce your team's old, fixed mindset beliefs, or it's going to actively help them build a new, much more powerful growth mindset. Now I know, that might sound like a huge responsibility, but the good news is there's a practical playbook you can actually use. This isn't just some abstract theory. It's a real, actionable toolkit for shifting your own mindset first and then your team's. So, how do you actually do this? It's a 3-step process. First, you've got to spot your triggers. What makes you feel defensive or insecure? Maybe it's getting some critical feedback, or maybe it's when a project you're leading totally fails. Next, you have to actually listen to that little voice in your head. You know the one that says, "See, I told you you weren't cut out for this." And then, here's the most powerful step. You talk back. You actively challenge that voice with a growth mindset. Instead of thinking, "I'm a failure," you try on, "Okay, what can I learn from this?" But it's really, really important to be realistic here. This is a journey, not like flipping a switch. You're never gonna completely eliminate that fixed mindset voice. Nobody does. The goal is just to get better at recognizing it, at managing it, and choosing that growth mindset response more and more often. It's a practice. And as you get better at this personal practice, something pretty incredible starts to happen. Your internal shift begins to have a real external impact on your team, on your culture, and ultimately on your legacy as a leader. And this, right here, is the ultimate takeaway for you as a new manager. Your personal mindset isn't just about you. It sends these ripples out through your entire team. It's what determines whether you build a group of people who just play it safe to avoid mistakes, or if you build a team that leans into challenges, that learns together and achieves absolutely incredible things. In the end, it all comes down to this simple but incredibly profound idea. And as a leader, it's even bigger than that. It's what you believe about your people that shapes what they become under your leadership. So I'll just leave you with this question. This isn't about becoming the perfect growth mindset leader overnight. It's just about starting. What's the one small thing you can do this week, in your next one-on-one maybe, or the next time a project hits a snag, to start building that culture of growth? Your legacy starts right now.